Howdy, Hesty here. A little bit different video than most of the ones I've been doing lately. But I'm very excited about this box that I received in the mail from Boyds Custom wood stocks. Okay, this is for a Savage Axis. Happens to be a 243 in this case. We'll get into that in a little bit. The Savage Axis is a fantastic weapon in the price range that it is. You get a lot of weapon for the buck. It comes with this synthetic stock that is very durable. Oil, water, nothing seems to bother it. It isn't going to swell up. It isn't going to rust. But the problem with it is it's a little bit flexible and a little bit underbuilt. So what happens is you can actually throw off your accuracy because of the flexibility of this stock. With that foregrip, you may be bending it and touching the barrel, throwing off your floating barrel action and hurting your accuracy. Like I said, this is a 243 of the Savage Axis. They come in everything from 22 long rifle to 308 in the short action. So this is a magazine fed. And I'm sorry, I should have started with magazine is removed, bolt is removed, and the chamber is clear. Should always start off with that before you start handling a weapon, obviously. So this is my 243. I have a 22-250 of this same model Savage Axis. I bought a Boyd stock for it, and I was thrilled with how it is, the quality of it, and what it did for my accuracy. Brought my groups down significantly. So we're going to try that with the 243 here, which is my pig gun for hunting pigs. Great round, but that's for another discussion. Today we're going to open the box and install it, and then I have a couple other goodies we're going to put on it while we're in here, including a bolt handle, custom bolt handle from Glades Armory. So let's get into it. Let's open the box and talk a little bit about the stock and what I picked out. So here's how you get it from Boyd's. Packaged pretty decently, but it's a wood stock, so there isn't all that much to it. It comes with a trigger guard already on it. Comes with dual sling mount, so you can put a bipod and still have a sling, which is this particular model is called the Pro Varmint. You can see it has the finger notch there or here. It's a little bit more vertical of a grip. And I chose this because I tend to shoot this weapon off of the bipod more than anything else. So I like a vertical hand grip. It works better for me on the bipod. Whereas the stock is a little bit more of an angle. I would choose this type of profile more for offhand shooting. So let me show you the one that I've already installed, which is a beautiful piece of work. This is my 22-250, and this is the Prairie Hunter model. So it's very, very similar in profile to the stock resin one. Beautiful wood. I don't know if you can pick that up. This stock was just under $200 for the model. They start about $153 and go up to about $250, and then there's a bunch of options that can raise that price a little bit more. This coloring, this finish, was actually a stock choice, so it didn't add any price to the stock. Thrilled with this stock. Like I said, more of a slanted hand grip on it. For me personally, this is all personal preference now. I like this for offhand shooting, which I find myself leaning on a tree or on sticks, shooting this weapon, going varmint hunting. Okay. But like I said, for this one I find I'm usually laying prone, and this stock with a little bit more foregrip in the finger notch and the dual swivels is what I think I'm going to like the best for shooting this one. The finish on this one was a custom finish. It added $15 to the price. So this one, shipping and everything at the door, this one was $182 from Boyd's. They have an amazing amount of selection in shapes, finishes, and rifles that they support. But like I said, I've got a couple of the Savage Access, and I have a couple friends that do also, so kind of stuck with these. One caveat I'm going to throw on here: the Savage Access is a great gun for the dollar. I'm thrilled with them, and I will probably buy a couple more in different calibers, or to have spares to take folks that come visit hunting with me. But there's a caution I will give you. You pay $300 for the gun, and it's pretty good, and then you decide to do the stock, which is another, we'll round it off to $200. So now we're at $500. And then, oh, maybe I want to do a trigger, so you put a new trigger in. The point I'm getting to is very quickly you can turn this into a $700 gun, and you have a very nice $700 gun that you've customized to exactly how you like it. But consider what else you could have bought if you just went straight out and bought something for $700, $800. Kimber has a couple of beautiful rifles in that $700, $800 range that already have the trigger in them, already have a beautiful stock on them, etc., etc. So just be a little bit careful. I tend to over customize cars, motorcycles, boats, whatever, and I end up putting more money into it than it's worth, or that it really makes sense. So I'm just throwing out, be careful with you, especially when I show you a couple of the other little goodies that we're going to put on here. So let's get to putting it on. Really simple process. Before we get started, personally, when I'm working on a weapon, I like a light colored. So here's a towel, a white towel. So when you drop that little bolt or spring or pin, it's easy to pick up. There's some fantastic weapon mats out there, but I can never see anything on them. And have yourself plenty of light. I've got a little auxiliary light here. Another thing that I like is these little magnetic cups. Harbor Freight, $3 or $4, to keep all those little parts. Because then you get up to get your coffee and you bump it and all, but the magnetic cups are nice. So here's the rifle as if I had just taken it out of the gun case or taken it out of the box because I bought it, what have you. It is a little bit easier to do if you remove the scope, but not necessary. So we're just going to be a little bit careful of the stock, that we're not bumping it around too much. First thing, obviously, what we want to do is remove the magazine. You should be familiar with that. There's a finger catch there. Pull it down, the magazine comes out. All right, we're going to pull the bolt to the rear. Pretty simple operation. Hopefully you know how to do that. We're going to check the chamber. Okay. Now on these Savages, they have a bolt release, little lever right here that you need to depress, that allows the bolt to slide all the way out. And we do want to remove this bolt. To depress that bolt release, we need to depress the trigger. So it's kind of a two-hander here. So I'm going to depress the trigger, depress the bolt catch, and now the bolt will slide straight out. And there's your bolt. Very simple to tear down this weapon. Now we're ready to take out 2 screws and drop this off. You can use standard Allen wrenches. And if I can see without my glasses here, we have a 5/32, and there's basically 2 bolts, one here in front of the magazine catch and one in front of the trigger weld. They are different sizes. The torque on these is pretty low, 35 foot-pounds, so this is way overkill on this wrench. That's all it takes. I'm sorry, correction. The torque on these is 35 inch-pounds. Very, very little. So using a wrench is overkill. When we put it back together, we want to be very careful not to over torque it. And you can see I don't really even need the ratchet to do it. Okay, so there's the back one, and you can see the length of it. You have to remember the sizes about which one's which. Okay, and then the stock just lifts up off the trigger group and the upper assembly. So there, my stock is off. Now the bolt is laying in here. Okay, there's the forward bolt. Okay, and then this piece that came with the Boyds stock replaces, let me see if I can get a better shot of that. So this magazine catch replaces what's molded in to the stock, the factory stock. So the Boyds stock comes with one. You can see it already set in there. One of the things I am a big fan of is these aftermarket machined aluminum ones. I've had trouble getting the magazines to seat properly, and they just keep falling out. You can be in the middle of shooting at the range and all of a sudden your magazine drops out with these synthetic ones. So I found a guy on eBay that actually machines these. They're CNC machined. They're $19.95 a piece or something, and it's $7 shipping. So it's a little bit pricey for this little piece, but in my opinion, quite worth it. So I ordered 4 of them because then I paid the $7 shipping and got 4. 2 for me and 2 for my brother-in-law, and it worked out pretty well. The weapon disassembled, we're ready to put the new stock in. This is really pretty simple. I'm gonna mention while we're here that if you wanna adjust the trigger on this adjustable trigger group, you'll see this spring at the back, and you simply, there's a little flathead set screw in there. You take a small jeweler screwdriver flathead, wind it down till you can get it engaged, and then turn it to adjust your trigger tension. Counterclockwise, as you're looking at it, counterclockwise will reduce the trigger pull, clockwise will increase the trigger pull. I would recommend doing it small increments at a time. I was set at 2.5 pounds, and I just took half a turn out, so I'm expecting that to be about 1.8, but I'll measure it when we get it all back together, and if I need to make another adjustment. All right, that's just a side note while we're here. Okay, so have a look, make sure everything is clean and you haven't dropped anything in there. There is a support here. You can see that metal piece embedded. Make sure that's in there. I'm gonna go ahead and pry the plastic magazine catch out so I can use the aluminum machined one that I've got, and then we'll get this guy back together. Okay. So the plastic one is out. He produces them a little bit long intentionally. I don't know if you can see that difference. So you may have to file or machine down the length a little bit. He leaves that intentionally long so that you can machine it to match your weapon, which is a nice feature. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert that. And remember, our short screw goes in the front, long screw in the back. So if you look right here, there's a couple of burrs. So I'm just gonna clean that up with a sharp knife, and I bet it'll set right down on there. All right, so let's go ahead and mount it. Okay, long bolt in the back. Now remember, 35 inch-pounds. That's slightly more than finger tight at best. For the front bolt, which holds the magazine catch, I want to put just a dot of blue 242, some type of thread locker, because that is not a bolt I want coming loose. And with 35 inch-pounds holding it in, that isn't very much torque. So a spot of blue Loctite is a good idea here. Okay, finger tight. I'm not even using the handle here. there we have it. All right, now, I mentioned I had another goodie that I wanted to do before we're gonna put the bolt in. The only reason I'm doing this is because I like the way it looks. I'm putting a new bolt handle on it. So there's the stock, and here's the aftermarket, a little bit extended, get a little more leverage on it. It isn't gonna make the weapon shoot any more accurately. It'll make it a little more convenient when you're cocking it. That's really it. 60 bucks. I ordered this from Glades Armory, shipped to my door. Total, it was $64. And they have different models. You can get just a different model knob that threads on the end. These are very nicely machined. You do need to make sure that it will clear, if it's a little bit longer, that it's gonna clear your scope. Obviously, you need to be able to clear your scope with the bolt handle, but let's get this on the bolt and I'll show you. Again, very, very simple. If you know, there's two little tricks. So we already have the bolt out, and with the bolt, you can see the pin is to the back. That's in the cocked position. You can also tell because of the pin sticking out of the back of the bolt there. So if that pin is sticking up, it's in the cocked position. And this pin there needs to be sitting down here so that we can unscrew this bolt in the back. You can pretty much do it with your fingers, like that. Be careful you don't get your finger snapped in there. It's a little bit harder getting it back. I have to lever it with a screwdriver. But you gotta be in the uncocked position so that we can put a 1/4 inch Allen key in the back. When they come from the factory, they are extremely tight, and you will probably need a little help. A longer wrench, a standard Allen this size, you're not gonna be able to get it with how tight it is from the factory. Doesn't need to be that tight. This really isn't a high stress point, but just letting you know, you're gonna have to put some torque on it. So I was able to, on a hard surface, using the lever that's there, break it loose by levering down as such. And now that it's loose, I'm simply gonna screw it out. Okay, and I'm kind of holding everything in position with my fingers. There's not a big spring load. This isn't gonna fire off in your face, but as always, not a bad idea to point it away from you. There is a spring in there, and now you can see that spring is just sticking up. All right, so, but it's retained, so it won't come out, and as you unscrew this, the tension comes off it. So now, holding it in the position like such, you just lift it off, set the new one on there, maybe put a dot of oil on there first, and screw the bolt back together. Really simple, adds a little bit of flair. Functionally, it's a little bit easier to cock. I haven't had any trouble racking the bolt on this, but I like the way it looks. I like a little more leverage. If I ever go in the cold and I'm wearing some big gloves or something, it'll be handy. This is more just personalizing the weapon. I think it looks cool. We're gonna have to cock it to get that bolt back in, so that means we have to push this up here. So I usually just use a screwdriver. If you have something that's a little bit smooth, this one is kind of sanded down so it doesn't have any sharp edges on it, so you don't burr anything up. You really don't want to burr anything up. But it's just a little bit hard to get it with your fingers, so I just needed something to push on it. And you just push it up and over and it snaps in. Keep your finger clear. If your finger is down there and it pops down there, it'll pinch you. But not a hard process. All right, so now our bolt is ready to go back in. Pull the trigger, push the bolt catch down. You'll see the keyway if you look down the back of the chamber here, how the bolt slides in, release it, and now our bolt is in. Make sure the knob is tight. So there's our new bolt. It's not bad. Little bit bigger. Maybe we'll catch on a strap or something compared to the old stock one with the football shape. But I like it, and we'll see how it does. For 60 bucks, it wasn't too bad. All right, so the last thing now is to check, well, we've got two more steps to go. First, I'm gonna check that the magazine catch is adjusted right and it's working. So we're simply gonna put the magazine back in. All right. Yep, it's solid, it's holding. Now we're gonna come to check the last thing. The quality assurance on these Boyds stocks is pretty impressive. The last two that we did my, on my 22-250, we didn't have to do anything. We bolted it right up and it was perfect. And here's what I'm talking about, is checking the bedding of the barrel. Because we don't want the stock on the foregrip touching the barrel. And how you check that is simply with a little slip of paper. You get it started down in there, and you just slide it back and forth. Yeah, there's clearance. So that's nicely bedded. Straight from Boyds. So let's check the new one. All right, this one has a little bit more aggressive finish on it. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if a little bit of that finish blocked us up. But here we go. We're just gonna check our bedding. No. Okay, this barrel is a little bit bigger barrel, so as the taper increases, I have to release my grip, but you can see that slip of paper slides all the way up in there. So from the factory, bolts right up and the bedding is perfect. If your bedding isn't, all you gotta do is, with your slip of paper, mark your spots where it binds, where it's touching the barrel, and then take a little bit of sandpaper and open it up a little bit. That's all we're doing. Just a paper width. That's all we need, just so it's not touching that barrel, throwing that barrel off. Very simple. And if it is touching the barrel, that can really open your groups up, which nobody likes when they're shooting. So now I got to get it out to the range, get out of this leg brace. I think it looks fantastic. I like the feel of it. I like my new bolt lever. So we'll get it to the range and let you know how it does. If you have any questions, suggestions, or you notice something in error, please post it in the comment section so I can either get it corrected or at least that the next guy watching the video knows. Appreciate your time. Enjoy. Have fun shooting. Be safe.